It's time once again for another thrilling episode of Markout Radio. For the next hour, sit back, pull the stick out of your ass, and enjoy. Be warned though, smarks and internet know-it-alls will be offended, annoyed, and generally pissed off at what's about to happen to your ear holes. You've been warned. Now, Markout Radio.
That's right. Welcome back to Markout Radio. Dave Timrick here with you. Episode 11, November 13th, 1995, Jacksonville Memorial Coliseum, Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah, that's right. The same venue as last week. Save a little money on travel costs. Actually, the reason behind this was that a few of the superstars took a trip to Japan pretty much right after this went off the air, where Sting dropped the U.S. title to a Japanese star that we'll cover in next week's show. But this week's show, dark matches. Johnny B. Bad takes on Diamond Dallas Page to retain his WCW World Television Championship in a non-televised match. That's okay, though. It made its way onto the Sunday show. You know, the warm-up show for the pay-per-view. Oh, yeah, did I mention that there's going to be a pay-per-view coming up soon? Jesus. And they didn't air this until, like, the warm-up show to the pay-per-view, which was 2 weeks away. So, get a few matches in the can so that you can use them later, right? Anyways. Show kicks off with your hosts as usual, Eric Bischoff, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Steve Mongo McMichael. Speaking of which, Mongo's stupid fucking dog is wearing a super dog outfit. We get a recap of last week's shenanigans as the show closed out, leading into a truly odd Hogan promo. They spray painted the Phantom of the Opera mask black, and it looks like they've hired a blind cripple to put some black marks on Hogan's face. At one point, it kind of looked like an Undertaker ripoff. And then it kind of just looked like some regular old Hogan vomiting up the bullshit nonsense all over again.
Hogan hours sucked.
Thank you. Of course, we didn't know growing up that vitamins and prayers that Hogan would talk about really stood for steroids. And the knee is the best way to get that needle into your butt meat. But now we do. Sting may or may not be on the right side of Hulkamania, but Macho Man will bring Meng's head to Hogan as an offering? I thought these guys were not supposed to be the Dungeon of Doom, but I guess because he's dark, you can decapitate someone and bring their head to their boss. Gotta love 90s wrestling. All right, first match of the night. Randy Savage defeats Meng in 4:51. I give this one 3 out of 5. During Meng's entrance, we get a long shot of a couple of ring rats. Always a pleasure, ladies. And Savage is introduced as being from the dark side of Venice Beach. Because I guess there's a light side to compare it to. Anyways, Macho comes out from behind Meng through the crowd and gets a big pop, and his elbow is finally all not taped up. But don't worry, it's actually not healed. It's just not taped up for the purposes of selling what happens later. Except the fact that, his elbow bone is like sticking way out and his arm's considerably smaller than the other one. So like this ongoing injury of his is starting to affect the size of each of his arms. So that's one of the reasons why he's been wrestling in t-shirts, of course. That's okay though, because as soon as the arm heals, he'll be on the roids hard and he'll look like the Macho Man we know had a coronary later on in life. Anyways, it's a good spot with Sullivan trying to attack Savage from behind off the top rope. It's got a nice reaction when Macho stopped him. One of the best parts of having Bischoff running WCW is that this is the first time that the live crowd is mic'd up, so it doesn't matter if the reaction isn't loud enough. The mics will make it sound louder than it actually is, and then they pump it back through the PA system at the venue, which is always awesome. Believe it or not, this wasn't done up until Bischoff started doing it, and now, of course, we know that Vince just fucking abuses the shit out of this these days. Anyways, the glitter from Macho Man's t-shirt and ring gear is flaking off everywhere so badly that Meng and Macho Man were so very sparkly. Post-match, Shark and Luger run in where Luger works over Savage's left healed arm. The match itself was good, and it gets a bonus point for putting over the main storyline in an opening match 2 weeks out of the pay-per-view. So there's bonus there. That. After that, we get a World War III promo, and that's followed by Chris Benoit going over on Kensuke Sasaki in 2 minutes 40. I gave this one 2.5 out of 5. It's the Battle of the Mullets. There's a very curly mullet. Is the very curly mullet stronger than the straight shot one? We're about to find out. WCW's version of Jobbers was to bring in little-known Japanese and Mexican wrestlers. Now, I mean little-known to North American audiences. To wrestle in matches against their quote-unquote established homegrown-ish talent. The bonus here is that we're actually getting some really good matches with some international flavor. This obviously is something that continues to be used in the wrestling world, with wrestling companies making business arrangements with New Japan, AAA, lots of other different smaller companies. I mean, the WWE is now infamous for buying up those small companies and then opening NXT offices in those small companies. I think the newest rumor mill I'd heard this week is that they were going to open up a dojo in Japan, which is hilarious, but who knows? Maybe it'll work. I guess if they pay the guys enough, why wouldn't they go there? All right, Benoit finishes this one off using 3 German suplexes, followed by a full Nelson quote-unquote dragon suplex for the pin. After the bell, Bischoff tells us that Benoit is the newest member of the Horsemen. Now, if all you did was watch Nitro, this would be the first time you're hearing this, but of course, it actually happened and became quote-unquote official at WCW Saturday Night a couple nights before. The match itself was good, but really, really short, which it kind of had to be given the next match, but they did a good job of making the best out of the time they had. No story, just a decent match. After that, we get a WCW Saturday Night promo, followed by Johnny B. Bad as the TV champion versus Eddie Guerrero in a 10-minute time limit draw for the WCW World Television Championship. Bad doing double duty after having a dark match to defend his TV belt off the air. He gets to defend it on the air now. Eddie gets no entrance at all, mostly because Johnny B. Bad has to do a stupid Frisbee gimmick. For those of you keeping score at home, he also does a confetti cane gimmick, but DDP stole that in kayfabe. So now he just does the stupid Frisbee thing. Bischoff quips that Bad is going to keep his distance from Guerrero in a wrestling match. Jesus fucking
0.
God
point
damn it.
0.
Fucking. Even in fake wrestling, you still have to touch the other person. And if you're going to keep your distance from somebody, Jesus Christ. Fuck, Eric. All right, anyways, this one is another Battle of the Mullets. The mid-90s is super awesome for having the mullet as a quote-unquote hairstyle. Except this time, we get porn stashes, too. Bischoff quips that Bad is going to keep his distance. Oh, excuse me, I'm rereading my fucking lines. It looked during the match like Bad did potato Guerrero with a right hand there, and there was a bit of a shoot fight back and forth, which they, of course, played up at the end of the match. There was points in the match where it just looked a little too legit, a little too much of a shoot. But, listen, this is Johnny B. Bad's second time wrestling tonight. I can't imagine he was in a great mood about that in the first place. Guerrero is an excellent wrestler, but I was impressed that Bad was able to keep up, got himself into a position to show off Eddie's moveset while getting into his spots as well. Told an excellent story. It was a very long match, and it was actually for the TV championships. 3.5 out of 5. Well done. After that, Bischoff has news that Hogan will be at the Nitro next week to face Sting. Meanwhile, Gene in the ring interviews Hart, Sullivan, and Giant. They're going to kill Hulkamania like every other fucking ham and egger since the dawn of the 80s. And after that, we get the main event. Sting going over on Dean Malenko in 7 minutes even. I give it 2.5 out of 5 despite the ending. Now, we'll get to why. Just give me a second here. But first, let's just talk for a second about Malenko's vest, which looks like it was made for somebody even shorter than Dean Malenko. Possibly him as a child. I'm not quite sure why he came out in it. Maybe he packed his kids' wrestling gear in his bag. I don't know. But it did look fucking creepy, like a Chippendale outfit. The whole tagline of WCW, of course, right now is where the big boys play. But Bischoff continues to put over Dean Malenko during this match, saying that despite his size, Malenko can go. I mean, when you're trying to build a cruiserweight division, shut the fuck up about being where the big boys play. When you're trying to sell a cruiserweight in a match with a guy that's the stereotypical wrestler, do not fucking talk about this is where the big boys play when there's quite literally a 5'8" guy in the ring wrestling a 6'4" guy. All right? Jesus Christ. I mean, you're supposed to be a production professional. World War III promo during the match. Back from break recap of an attempted Scorpion Deathlock. which Malenko gets out of by tying himself up in the bottom rope. The quote-unquote Iceman, Dean Malenko, throws a little temper tantrum after getting caught up in a small package, which is a really weird ending for a U.S. champion to give a guy who is 50 pounds lighter than he is and 6 inches shorter than he is. One downside, though, of the new stage setup is that coming back from break while the post-match recap is going on from the Talking Heads, we get to see Sting and Okerlund pacing around the ring looking slightly bored and irritated. So, cutting to that, Mean Gene puts over his stupid phone line again and interviews Sting, who puts himself over as the big dog of the WCW, and he's looking forward to this match against Hogan. Talking Heads promote next week's Hogan-Sting match and the World War III go-home episode of Nitro next week. I don't think we have any other fucking housekeeping things about this particular... No, we don't. We really don't. Sad that it is. So... overall, this is probably the Nitro I've given the highest rating. This one got a 3. Now, there were 7,500 people in attendance, but we don't know how many of them actually paid. Now, considering this is week 2 in the same building, and this week we've got 2,000 less people actually there, I'm going to go out on a limb and just guesstimate that we'll have an equal number of those not paying. But that's not an official number, so let's not put that one down in the records books. It's just going to be a big, fat fucking question mark. All right, so next, what do we got? Going home here, I guess, for Raw would be this week. They're going to be promoting the shit out of Survivor Series, so we'll talk about that in the next show, in addition to where that was going on as far as ratings were going. This week, Nitro got a 2, and Raw got a 2.6. Now, this is... the second week in a row of dropping 0.6 to Raw, and it's not looking awesome right now, if I'm going to be honest with you, for our boys over there at Nitro. Really not looking great. We're not getting official numbers. We're getting decent matches again. I would think that the matches this week will be expressed in the numbers next week as far as viewership goes. I don't know what we have for attendance, though, because I can't find any fucking records of what the attendance is. Before I go on the air next week, I will find out what the venues, at least the seating capacity is for a wrestling show, and then we can sort of guess from there. I have no idea how many people paid, but let's be honest. It's a go-home. They're going to want to fill that fucker up, so let's just assume they gave out a shit ton of free tickets. All right, you animals. I'm out of here until next week. We'll see you guys later. I'm out.
Well, that was an abortion of a show. Should the mood take you, check out markoutradio.com and leave a comment. You can also find links there to our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Stitcher channels. You can even leave a voicemail on our Skype. Just click the links and share them.